Hey there, Colt students and families. Mr. Boost here, Miss Romo right there. So glad that you're with us and hopefully you're having a great week. Just want to address some of the questions that we've had from emails, surveys, things like that. And hopefully we can clarify a few things. So, first of all, we're going to use social media platforms as a way to kind of spread the good things that are happening in Colts Mass 7. It is not something that's going to take the place of our teaching experiences and your students' learning experience. It is simply an extra thing. So if your kids don't have access to those things, they are not going to miss anything.
And we've gotten some questions about our class schedule. We have listed a temporary class schedule in our Math 7 syllabus, but knowing that we are going to start some academics in Math 7 on August 17th, our schedule is going to change slightly, but we'll make sure to let you know when that change happens.
Just want to address some concerns about school supplies. Obviously, students aren't in here, so they don't need to be bringing supplies to school. They don't need to be bringing us anything that we might need. Basically, they're going to need a notebook and something to write with and a calculator. In terms of the calculator, we're asking that they have a scientific calculator. They'll be using those for a while. It is not necessary that they get a super expensive graphing calculator. There are apps and there are websites that offer free versions of scientific calculators, and so those are fine as well. In terms of a notebook, students can use just a regular old line notebook. They could use a grid notebook. On our syllabus, we added some links to a Rocket Book, which is simply a reusable notebook. They're certainly more expensive than a regular composition notebook, but you can reuse them for a very long time. If you have further questions about some of those different notebook options, feel free to contact us.
All right, another question that we keep seeing is, how do you remember the block schedule, the odd, even class days? We are going to post the school schedule color-coded in our Google Classroom for you to have access to all year long. With period 3 and period 4, there's a built-in lunch and advisory in our school bell schedule. Right now, because students aren't in class, we don't have advisory. So that 20 minutes is like a break for students while they're at home. And then the lunch schedule, while you're at home in period 3 and 4, feel free to eat lunch whenever you would like.
Several parents have asked about kind of our time in class. So we have those 2-hour block periods. We're not going to be live during those 2 hours, nor do we expect your students to be live with us. The schedule that we talked about earlier that will come out next week will have some times for some pre-recorded instruction, plus there'll be some time for live small group, whole group, and office hours for some individual tutoring. So those times will be available for you and your family.
All right, and some other questions that we've gotten are how to get help when we are on online learning. We have several different ways that we would like to help your student, and that would be with the live Google Meets, that'll be with the tutoring times, and if your child is shy and doesn't feel comfortable asking questions while other students are present, we highly encourage your student to email one of us so we can set up a time where we can meet one-on-one until your student feels a little bit more comfortable with talking with the class being involved as well. We do ask that the best way to communicate with us, we both have a little bit different ways to communicate. The easiest way to communicate with me would be through Remind or through an email, not so much through Google Classroom and the commenting, please.
And for me, I am available to communicate in whatever way works for you and your family. A number of students use kind of social platforms and kind of DM me. There are other people who use Remind. People use Google Classroom. I'm comfortable using any of those phone calls, emails, all that kind of stuff. So just figure out what works best for you. A big concern about obviously remote learning and remote teaching is the kind of lack of social interaction with students. And granted, they're not going to be able to physically interact. There will be plenty of opportunities for social interaction. And we've already started it with the first 2 days of school in our Google Meets. The Flipgrid responses that we've asked students to do about what's in their bag and the characteristics of a good teacher is another great way for us to build community. We know that students have lots of different learning styles, and just because the platform is through a computer does not mean we will not address the needs of each student. So we will, as we get to know your students, we will find ways to make their learning experiences fit their styles.
All right, and we've also gotten the comment that there are multiple children in the house that are trying to do remote learning, or your schedules are crazy, and we 100% understand that. And we just ask that you communicate with us if situations like that arise or if there's something that we can help with. But please know that our online schedule is flexible. Students can watch the recorded lessons later on in the day if needed and reach out to us throughout the day as needed. But we just ask that you communicate with us if there's a situation, and we will definitely be flexible as well.
A number of families have mentioned that they're concerned about how are we going to make sure that their child stays focused during these times. Well, number one, we're not going to make them kind of sit for long periods of time. We know that doesn't work. So we're going to make sure that we build in breaks within our class period to give kids that opportunity to move around, to interact in different ways. Some people have mentioned, well, my child has ADD. I think I have adult onset ADD, or maybe I've had it all my life. And, so I totally understand the need to kind of move around, to be stimulated in lots of different ways, to receive information in lots of different ways. So we will make sure that that does happen. Some other families were concerned that their child is just not confident in math, and we understand that. We've been doing this a long time. We've seen kids come into our classrooms with varying degrees of confidence. So we are going to work very, very hard with you and your children to develop those skills, those mathematical skills, those mathematical concepts, but also make sure that they know how to be a learner, they know how to be a problem solver, they know how to be a critical and creative thinker. And by doing that, we hope to make them feel just a little bit more confident by the end of the year. We are certainly not expecting students to walk out of here saying, yes, I am going to be I'm going to go study math at the university I go to. But we want them to know that mathematics is beautiful. Mathematics is about patterns, and that it's a tool to help them solve problems for the rest of their lives.
All right, and one other tool that will be really helpful is using Remind for both of us. Remind is a way of communicating through text messaging. There are two ways that you can join our Reminds. One is through a text message, but if more than one teacher of your student uses Remind, we highly suggest you download the free app because it will help your students stay organized with all 6 classes.
So the cleanliness of the app and the organization of the app makes it really easy for you to know who's messaging you, which teacher's messaging, and it makes it really easy for you to message back. We encourage all of our families to join our Remind classes. We encourage our students to do so as well. It's going to be our primary means of communicating with you. So have a great weekend. We're so glad that you chose Castile High School, and we'll see you around.
Bye.